Hi, I'm Nancy Murphy from Yellow Dot Artist. Don't forget to like and subscribe to this channel. Today I'm going to show you how to paint a Chardonnay bottle from the sketch to the painting. So here you make a square showing the outline of where you want the top, bottom, and sides of the bottle to be. Make sure to place the top line where you're going to have the curve of the bottle. I've readjusted it all the way down to the very bottom, and I readjust the label and move it down. Now erase the extra marks that you have on the page. And once you're done, go through and reinforce the line with a darker mark so that when you add paint, you'll be able to see it. But before you do that, make sure to make the bottom and the labels have a slight curve to it. In order to make a great painting, you want to tone the canvas. It just helps you to map out where you want things to go. You want to block in the different tones. You start with wiping out the lightest lights, the highlights in the painting where they're going to go. And you can readjust this at any point in the painting, but this just helps to get it started. Use a wet cloth or a wet brush to wipe the areas away while the paint is still wet. And then you want to add in a little bit of the dark paint you used earlier and mark in the deepest shadows, the darkest darks, where they're going to go. And this is what it looks like. Now you want to work on the background, and you use these three colors and mix up to get a nice shade of blue, a green blue. And keep adjusting and adding other colors to have different shades of that color. I'm using two different brushes. And I start by going around the bottle with one color, and then I alternate between the different shades to get a nice effect on the background. But make sure to color in the bottle as well, because the glass will be showing the background. And just move your brush in all different directions and blend the paint as you're moving along. I'm using the lightest light now to add a little variation, also to show some of the highlights in the bottle. And I draw the horizon line. And you don't want it to be too hard, so I kind of brush around to soften it. Just keep working the paint in. And see how I add the darker paint there and I blend it in. Now I'm adding a lighter color. It just adds visual interest. The next step, we're going to be adding a blue shade to each of the different piles that we had for the background. That way they're nice and uniform, but different. So just like the background, you put in the different shades where you want them to go, or the different values. The dark in the background, put them in the shadowed area, and then mix in the lighter ones where you want the highlights to go. And just blend. If you have too much paint on your brush, you want to wipe it off on a towel. And make sure to add blue on the bottom because it's shining through on the tablecloth. Now I'm going to take some of this green and just rub it in. And I have too much paint, so I dab it off and go back to rubbing it in so it blends nicely. Not just a little reflection from the wall color. Now it's time to paint the bottle. We want to mix up these different paint colors to get the color Chardonnay. And if you don't like the colors or don't think they look realistic, you want to keep blending to get different variations of the color. I'm using a small rounded brush to get inside. And halfway through this, I'm not liking the colors of the wine. So I go back to adjusting the colors. The top edge and the background on the front is usually a little darker, so I'm mixing in some darker paint and put it on the bottom. And I'm dabbing the paint so I don't have too much. I can add it alongside the color I just added. The nice thing about paint, if you don't like the color you're applying, let it dry, which takes seconds or minutes, and then apply a different color on top of it. Now I'm going to mix these colors to add some depth to the bottle. And I wiped off some of the black, I had too much of it. And I dab it and I start going over the background, the bottom, the circle, to add some depth. And you can use your finger to wipe any paint off if you have too much. Now I'm going to add in some cobalt green and yellow, because if you look at Chardonnay, it has sometimes a greenish hue to it. So that's what I'm adding here and along the sides of the bottle a little. Okay, I'm going to add the shadow now. I'm just mixing the colors. This is the bottle shadow. I reworked that and reworked it because I couldn't get it right. Then I move on to the top with this pretty blue. And mix in just a tiny bit of white into your mix to show the highlight on the bottle top. And always soften your lines just by dabbing. Now I'm going back with a Payne's grain or any black and mixing white to make the color of the bottle. Just make it very light, but let little bits of the background show through. And as I'm painting this, I'm not really liking the reflection. I have way too much reflection and too much white. So as you see, as I work through this, I start to adjust that. I'm just dragging the shadow down. Oh, dragging the reflection, not the shadow. And so I'm going in with the background color and getting rid of some of the highlights because I don't like them. And the same here. Okay, it's starting to look more like I want. I'm drawing that edge back because I had painted over it. Now I'm working on the touch-ups on the table, just softening the look. And then I think it looks done, so this is a wrap. Here's what the final painting looks like. Make sure to head over to my website, yellow.artist.com, and thank you for watching.